a question for you, actually.
Yeah.
Because I can understand
Go ahead
why
and cook.
like, hearing
Go
a
ahead and
word
cook.
like that is harmful, and it's not something that you want to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather know who's homophobic, though?
Exactly.
Who's racist?
Exactly.
If you in there, nigga, I'm ghost.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you want to see the full live stream that this video is from, click the link in the description down below. But before we get into this, make sure you thumbs up and subscribe, and let's get it. But we got liberals and conservatives are more similar than you think. Let's see. I mean, granted, on this one, besides one, we got everyone else to the right. So let's see.
The infighting on the right that I think makes us look very bad. One thing about liberals, you guys really do stick together and you actually get work done, even when I don't agree with it.
We're starting off the video with Cap, like, I don't know what the prompt was, but that was a lie. You say, bro, they're ready to end friendships like the... Okay, granted, okay, on either side, on the right, they're like, they'll talk shit about something that's differing. On the left, they won't talk shit. They'll just fucking cut you off. Oh yeah, you don't want to say this. You're out of here. We're done. I'm like, bro, if y'all don't get the hell on, dude.
From my perspective as a liberal, I sometimes see y'all sticking really hard
Yeah,
together.
same.
And y'all are like, no matter what, we're gonna vote red.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the, hey, we're just gonna vote this party. Now, let's see.
The far left and the far right are equally problematic.
I'm in the middle.
1.
I'll slightly disagree. Slightly.
I've actually seen both sides. I'm a gay conservative, and I have seen the far right chastise me for my sexuality, and I've seen the far left chastise me for being conservative. I've had my own address put on the freeway here in Los Angeles because they feel that my voice should not be out there. So I see the two sides actively doing harm to those of us in the middle who have a really rational voice and want to express ourselves in a safe way.
I appreciate the anecdotal experience that you had, but I think my issue saying that liberals are more problematic, I think everyone is.
What I talk about in my anecdotal incident is where I have never had a conservative physically attack me on the streets for what I am or who I am. They may verbally attack me. I've got
that's
that
what I'm
from the left
saying.
too, but the left has physical attacks on my physical being out on the streets because
That's
I'm
a good
expressing
point. That's a
myself.
good point.
I mean,
Multiple.
The opposite for myself. So experiences, as I said.
Let's be honest. We'll let up to that. Like, if you're in my face yelling, you might get one of these, you know what I'm saying, a face smush. It is what it is. Back the hell up. You're lucky that's all you get. You know what I'm saying? But that was a good point. That, like I said, with the in my face yelling, or even if it gets physical, the right, they gonna talk crazy all the time. They're never going to stop. It don't matter if you're basically damn near all the way to the right, man. Oh, this one little thing, yeah, we on your head top. We about to flame you for this. They not gonna sit there and try to cut you off or make a big ass scene, but they gonna sit there and be like, bro, what are you doing right here? This is stupid, bro.
Anecdotal,
Right.
your experience, completely valid, but to say, oh, liberals are worse.
Right. Well, it's not that there's no one worse, which is why I didn't move to strongly agree. My anecdotal experience tells me that.
Yeah, I don't know if you can
there
stay
is
in
a
the middle,
group
but
of
I'll be in the
people
middle on this one.
both sides that will do active harm to someone who steps out of their expected narrative.
I feel like when we talk about political extremes, I think one, there is a lack of desire for bipartisanship. The second thing is this kind of playful attachment to facts. People on the far left and the far right, whether we're talking about Israel-Palestine or vaccines, people seem to have very fun activities in terms of just completely making stuff up regarding these two things. And then the third thing is the demonization of political opponents, where people on the far left and the far right engage in this idea that the people on the opposite side of the aisle, they're not just different or have different ideas, they actually hate the country, they want to destroy us.
You know, people get labeled as extremists just for being even pretty centrist based on our small.
Yeah, that's what I'm
conversations
saying,
right
bro.
here. I don't think anyone here is extreme.
No.
But going down the street, you might get labeled, you know, crazy leftist or racist or.
I
Facts.
had to take his shirt off, for real.
It's interesting because when answering this prompt, I sort of hesitated. I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I used to be what I would characterize as a radical leftist. Now I'm sort of right of center. And I feel like I get characterized as a far-right extremist quite a bit. So I was thinking, what does far-right even mean? Because so many people who I deem to be reasonable are characterized as far-right, and I'm sure
Exactly.
people on the left feel that very same way. I've gone and spoken to different campuses, both as a leftist and as a right-of-center individual, and I've never received more hatred or people trying to cancel my events than coming to those campuses as a conservative speaker.
Well, do you think that's because some of that rhetoric causes a lot of harm on the right side? Like a lot of like the things that are being said maybe in those talks like can have like lasting impacts on those.
Give an example. Give an example.
So like, you know, and in the other way, like the conservative students might not like care as much about, you know, like, oh, like progress is being talked about. Like, you know, like I think like there's
Perfect example is
different-
Dylan Mulvaney just spoke at the University of Penn. They are free to go and have a talk. Conservatives didn't come out and try to cancel that event. They didn't threaten.
Yeah,
staff.
they
didn't
just like, bro,
blockade the
we don't
entrances.
care. Keep
They
that
let
shit to the
event
side,
go
bro.
on. Amala goes to speak, and there's rallies. They're pulling fire alarms. They're attacking the attendees. There is extremism.
I'm
We
sure
just have-
that there is, but I don't think Dylan Mulvaney is the right person to use for your example because of how much
She's a leftist.
she's a leftist, but she's also had her life threatened on multiple occasions.
Right.
She's had to move around a lot.
So
because
that-
her
hey, that
address
make-
continuously is doxxed, and she
That makes it for that specific scenario. That makes it even worse to the argument. Because if this person who, granted whether warranted or not, or I mean obviously that shit's over the top, but for those type of things to happen, and then those speeches or whatever the hell events don't get bothered, but Amala's events get bothered, that should say something.
She wasn't even speaking at any sort of event. She was given a free Bud Light can, and her life was threatened.
I think something that's really important to keep in mind, given the entirety of the show actually, is when we talk about like canceling or attacking people, the reality is if you have the power to do it, you will do it. And on college campuses, the prevailing thought right now is generally progressivism. So if they can cancel or if they can bully conservative speakers off campus, they'll do that. But then right now, because conservatives don't have power on college campuses or in some forms of media, they'll say, well, the left is pro-cancel culture. No offense to conservatives. You don't get credit for saying, well, we didn't try to cancel somebody on college campus. Yeah, that's because there's like 10 of you. You couldn't do it even if you wanted to. Right?
Okay, all right, that's funny. I get you
More
that.
conservative students than I think people actually give credit to, but maybe they feel like they need to, you know, harbor those beliefs internally
Hide it.
rather than, you know, espouse them out loud. And I will say, any conservative who wants to shut down an event or a speech, I would wholly disagree with.
There should not be limitations on free speech. 3.
Agree. I would say above a certain age, strongly agree. No, that's a lie. I'll just stay and agree. Obviously, things like threats and doxing should like those are a few exceptions. The reason I say over a certain age is, hey, if my teenager kid is on whatever app, he shouldn't just be randomly seeing some random bazoongas and then this person dropping hard R's and F slurs and this, that, and the third. Granted, they could block it, but they're still underage and seeing these things. That's still gonna have some sort of effect. But besides those scenarios, Strongly agree. I don't know why my voice sounded like scenarios. But besides those scenarios, strongly agree. But if we gotta include those scenarios, then just agree.
2, 1.
Let me see if anyone say that. Oh, that's tough. That's tough. And I will say this. For instance, there's the flat earthers. Now, when I was first hearing about this, cuz before it was this thing of like no one takes that serious. Now there's some people who are like taking it serious, and so like the only ones that I was hearing, oh, it's because the Bible. So I'm like, okay, is there anything else that's like giving more examples than a religious book? And I go to look it up. And so when stuff is taken out, or when whatever Google, YouTube, or Instagram or whatever has to put, oh, well, context, this dumb theory that blah, blah, blah. Now you're making me question, because if it was, okay, a few years back, everyone, if you think that, you're crazy, what's wrong with you? Now, if I can't even go to see for myself, all right, it's like, okay, if someone says the sky is orange, let them say the sky is orange. I did a video on the backup channel talking about this. I think it was They Take It for Granted. I think I talked about it in that video. As well as some other things. If someone says the sky is orange, no one's gonna believe them. So if you post a video, there's no reason for you to put context. The sky is actually blue and blah blah blah, and these crazy people who believe that da 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 da. You don't have to say that. You just let them post that video. There's gonna be people be like, this is why that person's dumb. You could literally go outside to see it yourself, and this is how you can blah 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 XYZ. You just go from there. And I'm not talking about some things where, oh, the sun is actually white, but the way the atmosphere works, it looks like orange or yellow to us. I'm talking about they legitimately look up and think the sky is orange, and not some color blindness and defect or none of that. They believe it's orange, and the government lie does blah blah blah. They post their video. There's misinformation. You can go outside and see it for yourself. I don't comprehend how people can view it a bad thing. Now, they're not a strongly disagree, so let's see what they say.
Okay, I hate this prompt. Because we all agree that like direct calls to violence are not acceptable.
Okay, threats.
We all agree like you can't scream fire in a theater. Otherwise, I think that like there should be Nazis on college campuses like doing their ideology. You should be allowed to say basically whatever rhetoric you want, as long as it's not like violating the terms of service of a platform. I do agree that vaccine misinformation is harmful. I do agree that misinformation relating to conspiracy theories is harmful. But I don't think the proper way to go about addressing that is to lock it all down.
Okay, cool.
I like the steps that YouTube has taken, where they might put a note under the video, or what Twitter, or the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, called X, is taking, where they have like the community note system.
I was thinking the very same thing as you. Of course, there are certain things that you cannot do, even with free speech being present. And I'm not sure how you define hate speech. So with some of the hate speech laws that are coming about, I think those need to be reevaluated and maybe rolled back, because
For sure.
even people who we disagree with, or we don't like, or we view as evil, should still be able to espouse their beliefs.
Right.
For sure.
Example,
And also,
right now,
if you take their voice away, that's just someone that you can't have on your radar. If Buddy, who lives next door to me, is the biggest of racist, I would want to know about it. Let's say I don't like, obviously they're not inviting me to their family reunion and shit like that. So let's say that I see them online. Oh, their videos get taken out. So I don't know that my neighbor is over here crazy racist, and then he hates these people, blah blah blah. I don't know that. I would want to know about it. I don't care if this is the most, they view the world in the most evil way. Okay, all right, I peeped that. Yeah, I can't rock with that guy. Like I can't bring my kids around. Imagine the neighbor who's the racist. Imagine being like, oh, can you watch my kid? Cause I gotta go do blah 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 blah. Leave him at the racist house. Do you want to leave your kids at a racist house? Absolutely not.
What's going on with students on campus, I don't agree that Congress and other individuals should limit what students are talking about on campus, what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in Israel, with the crackdown on JVP, the crackdown on Students for Justice for Palestine. The people who are in power should understand that students are the most, I would say, abrasive when it comes to speaking out against injustices.
I'm a free speech absolutist. I think that there should be repercussions to certain free speech, but it's a constitutional right, and yeah, that's where I stand with it. Yeah, I don't want any apps being banned. Right. I don't want people being banned from certain apps, and I think there's an attack on our First Amendment right now. Yeah.
So you think no one should be banned from platform?
Absolutely not.
So like someone calls me like the F slur, you like leave them?
Yeah, leave them.
Why?
Block them.
Because that's their right to say that. Now, you can, there should be measures taken to where,
Exactly.
like I said, there are repercussions to certain speech. I don't think the platform should be able to remove them, but I think you should have the right to block them.
For sure, facts.
Because I've lost 3 Instagram profiles just for saying, oh, I don't think children should have sex changes under the age of 18.
That is
crazy. Followers and stuff for just saying things that I think are just common.
I do have a question for you, actually.
Yeah.
Because I can understand
Go
why
ahead and cook.
Hearing
Go ahead and
words
cook.
like that is harmful, and it's not something that you want to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather know who's homophobic, though?
Exactly.
Who's racist?
Exactly.
Platforms have the right, as private businesses, to say what they want on those businesses. It's not cancel culture for them to take down slurs. And honestly, they're not that great at taking down slurs anyway. Because I get called a on a daily basis online just for being a Jewish person.
Fortunate thing is this.
I don't know what that is.
Social media has become the town's.
I don't know what that is.
Being a Jewish because I get called a on a
I don't know any slurs that start with a C that refer to
daily basis online just for being a Jewish person.
Oh, maybe they're just saying maybe it was actually cunt. Okay. And maybe it was like, "Oh, hey. They're saying she's a bad person." I thought it was a slur that I just never heard of, bro. Granted, I don't think I've ever heard a Jewish slur, so I can't really act like, oh, hey, I don't know that one.
Fortunate thing is this internet and social media has become the town square. And the town square, if you were to take a box and put it in the town square, there is no limit on what you can say. And who's to say the city's going to come down and say, you use the word and we're going to take your soapbox and you can't ever come back to my city. That's exactly what you're doing when you're saying the platform has every right to remove this language.
You have the option to go to another platform. There's plenty of
So we have an option to go to another city then.
There's plenty of conservative platforms.
Use the analogy.
No free speech.
You have free speech because you have
Listen, why am I streaming on Rumble right now, bitch? Because listen, I might say some crazy shit. Granted, I am streaming on Rumble and Twitch. I will be streaming on YouTube as well, but Jubilee and cut videos, like literally in 3 days, my strike gets removed. I'm able to post it, but when you stream it, it's a whole weird situation. But because listen, I might say something that's crazy, man. Or I might say something that is completely normal, but in 5 years, it's considered crazy. So absolutely, I'm going to support it. Elon Musk, that was my guy. Granted, I thought he was trolling when he said he was going to buy Twitter, but he bought Twitter. Some changes I liked, some changes I didn't like, some changes I really didn't care. It is what it is. People are like, he's just changing everything. Nigga, you didn't even care about that thing that he changed. Shut up, bro. You just want to complain. And then, but, he's here to promote free speech, so that's my guy, man. I mean, well, he already was, but.
So many options.
I think we have to be really careful when we talk about the concept of free speech. I like the concept of free speech, and I would defend that across multiple platforms, but that's fundamentally different than the First Amendment. The First Amendment has nothing to do with like the concept of free speech.
Right.
The First Amendment prohibits Congress or state or local governments from making laws specifically abridging your right to freedom of speech. Like hate speech laws don't exist in the United States because there's not hate speech. Hate can be an aggravator to an existing crime, but we don't outlaw certain types of speech. Twitter does not have a legal obligation. It's a violation of their First Amendment right to say they have to host whatever type of speech or tweet that somebody has on the platform.
And a hate crime and a hate incident are two different things too. And I wanted to say, like, if somebody called you, you know, the F word, and then they said they wanted to kill you,
those are two different
that's a
things.
Hate crime.
Yeah.
And that's not protected, right?
Correct.
But a hate incident, somebody could call you the F word and not say they want to kill you, and that's still protected.
Exactly. It can be an aggravating circumstance to an existing crime, but you can call somebody whatever you want, and it's not. Yeah.
I often criticize my own political party.
For sure, for sure.
3, 2.
I mean, granted, like, this wasn't a thing on the, like, I think one of the greatest things created that's not like a car or like an invention is the Constitution. There wasn't no, oh hey, it has to be this Democrat and Republican and Libertarian. You're there now, but no one, bro. If there's 10 million votes, you're getting less than 10,000, bro. Stop it. And that's just political. Ain't no electoral college of voting for you.
What brought you there?
What brought me here is because I tend to be a more, I guess you could say, traditional conservative in that I don't like to speak ill of my own party. I just don't. For me to go out and air their dirty laundry out where everyone can see it is only going to put a blemish on them. And I always want to put my best foot forward, and I always want to put my party's best foot forward. But I will point out the instances where I disagree with them privately so that they can make the necessary changes.
I've got to ask.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
I mean,
You said you were a Trump supporter, right?
Yes.
This must be like the thing you hate the most about him, then, right? Because isn't Trump like the most like anti-Republican attacks
But
his
here's
own
the
party?
thing. I come from a community where we found our power in local government. I've separated myself from this idea that I'm going to speak poorly about Trump because I want him to put his best foot forward.
I wish more liberals did that, to be honest. I think a lot of liberals, we tend to bash our party on the social media platforms, or when we protest a lot, right? But I think when it comes to going to these city council meetings, going to Congress, writing our elected officials, we tend to fall back on that, and we rely on social media, and we rely on demonstrations.
There is a lot of infighting on the right that I think makes us look very bad. One thing about liberals, you guys really do stick together, and you actually get work done, even when I don't agree with it. Whereas the right, with people like us, I feel like they see gay Republicans or conservatives as useful idiots, to be honest. That's why I kind of take issue with saying that I'm a gay conservative or gay Republican. They don't
see like they might clown you or like, man, we'll put you on the low. This is them saying it, not me, but hey, you know, you're there, but we'll put you down here on the totem pole. But you're not gonna lose friends from this, like, unless you change the dynamic. Like, let's say you're in the closet and then you came out. Unless you're friends with them and then try to do some strange things or espousing different types of rhetoric around like their kids or whoever in their family, bro, they're just, you know, it is what it is. Just keep it pushing.
Don't try to cast a wide net to bring new people over, whereas liberals do.
From my perspective as a liberal, I sometimes see y'all sticking really hard together. And y'all are like, no matter what, we're gonna vote red. Like, y'all seem very unified, even though you're talking about like public, like there's like internal discourse. But like, I feel like liberals feel like there's a lot of internal discourse amongst us. We're always yelling at each other.
Well, that's interesting because Democrats, they're winning a lot more elections right now. You know, and that's another critique I have of the Republican Party. You know, the midterm elections, they completely blew it. They put out a lot of bad candidates. The left didn't do that. They put a lot.
Policies. It's like the right stays stuck on certain things, like abortion. It's like they're unbudging with that, and it's like, all right, if we're pro-life, let's be pro-life in and outside the womb. You know, because they only focus
Right.
on abortion. Well, what about war? Because now they want to send everybody over to Israel.
Ooh.
So I'm like,
Violence should never be the answer to any issue. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, slightly agree. Oh, no. You said never. Okay, if it said violence should never be the first answer or violence shouldn't be the... Yeah. Like, it should be the final answer. Or, hey, violent type statement. This is on a war scale, not like a, hey, this is my neighbor, blah, blah, blah. But violence on a, this is an example, a showing of strength, and this is what happens when you cross it. Okay, all right. We just want to show you that we could do this. Let's talk peace. Let's let bygones be bygones. But just know, hey, we ain't no hoe. We got this.
Hey there, it's Amala.
Hey, I'm Destiny.
Do you want to be in a Jubilee video?
If so, go to jubileemedia.com/cap.
Absolutely not. I mean, I do, but y'all gotta come out to the East Coast. You know what I'm saying? Georgia, Florida. One of those. I don't know, bro.
Or we have a functioning democracy. I think violence is bad for two huge reasons. One is because we don't want to condition people to feel like violence is the answer to political disagreements. And then two, we want everybody to be able to utilize some form of protest against the government. And when we endorse violence, we're now saying it's okay for even people we disagree with to use violence, and that can be really scary for a lot of different reasons. But I would say in general, in 99%, where we're at today in the United States, we are not at the level of where violence is necessary to enact any kind of political change.
Yeah, for sure.
I wouldn't say that's entirely true. I mean, there's a certain level of violence happening to marginalized communities. That doesn't mean I necessarily agree with violence when it comes to the Palestinian rebellion that's been happening in Israel. I don't agree with Hamas killing people, that's terrorism. But at the same time, the violent uprisings that have happened, most of which have actually been peaceful, but still there is some sort of violence happening because they've been oppressed for so long. Like back in the Holocaust, people think that, Jews went peacefully into the concentration camps. No, we were violent. We had uprisings. We fought back. At a certain point, there is violence in fighting back to oppression.
Agree, because I don't strongly agree with it, because I'm all about nonviolence in my life. What I practice, my spirituality, I'm all about nonviolence. But at the same time, as I organize and I'm on the ground and I'm at protests and I'm at demonstrations, by any means necessary means, right, quoting Malcolm X, that you have to have some form of disagreement with the state that's not listening to your needs as people, as free people. And sometimes that takes, rebellious actions like burning down banks or burning down institutions that are not listening to you. But as Black people in America, if we're only demanding liberty and justice, we're not asking for revenge. We're just asking for equality. And sometimes I think the state looks at us being resistant as violence.
Sure. Yeah. The reason I came over here, I was thinking more internationally.
Yeah, that's all I was thinking.
Countries met with violence. There's really only one way to respond to that. I don't think Israel could go to Hamas and say, hey, guys, can you just not do that again? When Hamas is already saying that they plan more attacks that they had on October 7th. So I think Israel has the right to defend themselves with violence.
Sure, I think there's a couple of key things to keep in mind here. So one is, when we talk about violence in response to political ideas, we have to be really careful that we don't redefine violence to mean literally anything that we don't like. Because I've noticed that people are doing these things where there is a white supremacist violence against Black communities because of the way money is distributed with our taxes. And people will take that very academic form of violence, and it's okay, I think, to have this analysis, but they'll take that academic form of violence and they'll say, now we can kill police officers and burn down buildings.
Yeah,
or now we can engage in
exactly.
for neighborhoods.
Exactly. It's a good thing. I was gonna bring that up when he was talking about burn out the banks, because then I was just thinking instead of, hey, if we're gonna burn down a place, if that was what you're gonna do, I'm saying this, but if that's what you're gonna do, at least be strategic with it. Hey, We're not gonna, like, these are our people. We're not gonna mess with them. In any scenario, we're not just talking about, like, you know, BLM or whatever. We're not gonna, you know, mess with them. We're not gonna mess with people who are not involved with it. We're going to be. It's like I've been watching a lot of you know, medieval shows, and you know, there's some shows where it's like, oh hey, we're gonna do this attack, and one of the first things that we're gonna do is burn their weapon supplies or their food supply. You do that, you cut that off from them. Why do you think there are sieges? Hey, this is, you know, you push up, there's probably gonna be some violence. Hey, we're gonna starve you out. If something's gonna happen, if some people are gonna have to suffer, granted, the common folk in your town that's getting sieged, they gonna have to hold that L first before, you know, people higher up feel anything. But it was some strategy with it. Instead of, hey, let's just burn everything down and loot everything. You don't only thing you do is hurt your side.
My side is misrepresented by the media.
Absolutely.
3, 2, 1.
Absolutely.
Honestly, the media is controlled by the left. I really never see any positive light shine on conservatives nor the right in the media ever, unless it's right-leaning media.
And to your point, what I think is really interesting to even just look at the conservatives who are here today, it's a pretty diverse bunch of people. And when I was on the left, my characterization of conservatives was like white, heterosexual, old man, and
exactly.
to having moved over that space and see, oh, there's way more people who just happen to have conservative beliefs, or maybe they don't agree with some of the woke stuff that's happening right now. I think we are often mischaracterized.
I do agree that right now, ironically, it seems like the left and the farther left have more kind of corporate media control in terms of how images are displayed. So you're going to feel like, if you're a conservative, that you're not accurately represented, and the left maybe gets some more fair representation. But on platforms where conservatives run things, holy Christ, are people on the left completely and totally misrepresented. Like, how many times have I heard these stupid quotes from the WEF where it's like, oh, you want us to rent everything and own nothing, and you want us to eat bugs, and you're on your 57th booster shot. Today, if anybody's ever listened to Rush Limbaugh, Michael Savage, Billy Cunningham, like any of these people, these guys are not giving fair, accurate representation of the left. Their voices just tend to be more marginalized or smaller now in media because of how much corporate control kind of like bows to the woke agenda, I would say.
See, I think, you know, I think when you look at it, I did a video a while back on a backup channel. The West is overcorrected, and basically where, and it's kind of ironic that I seen it this morning. This is one example that I'm thinking of, but the thing I seen this morning was the Golden Globe for Nick Offerman and The Last of Us. We're gonna get to that in a second. But where it's just like, hey, we're not gonna say anything about you, and then it's like, hey, we need representation. So instead of gradually putting it in there, they just started spamming. I liked Bill's character in The Last of Us. He was one of my favorite characters. I wanted to see the interaction with him and Ellie. Couldn't do that because we did it. It's okay. It's like I when I did that episode, it was, I don't know if it was the episode afterwards, but I kind of compared it to how Mandalorian, ironically, Pedro Pascal and Book of Boba Fett, where instead of Book of Boba Fett, we had the character whose name was Boba Fett, but it's not really like the character. And then at the end, it was basically Mandalorian season 2.5. Now, imagine they did that, but we knew only Boba Fett and not Mando. Then we'll be like, bro, who is this? Like, and this is someone who played the game first. So if I play the game and I'm like, I'm trying to see, you know, Bill and Ellie's interaction, and it's just like, oh, who's these two characters? Imagine if I never played the game. Who are these two random niggas, bro? Who is this? So instead of having that, you could have had that story, maybe trimmed it down a little bit, have it woven into the episode within like flashbacks. She's touching the piano, blah blah blah. they want to, oh, here you go, have that, take that. Oh, and if you say anything about it, well, that just means you're homophobic. Like, bro, did the same thing Star Wars. Oh, you don't like Rey? You're a sexist. Oh, you don't like this? You're a racist. You don't like this? You're transphobic. Like, so instead of just gradually putting those characters in there, y'all spammed it. And then if there's anything like, I don't really like this character, well, it's because whatever type of homophobic, sexist, whatever word you want to throw in there, it's not even like natural. Do I want to give this example? Okay, I'll give this example. I'll try to be vague so I don't really give that much of the plot. So I have this character that I wrote. And when I write something, I want all my, especially main characters, I want their names to have some sort of meaning. Whether it be like, oh, hey, if you look at their name this certain way, it means this. Or, you know, when I thought of this character, I thought of this person in my real life. So, there's a name that I wanted to have one of the bigger characters have this name. This was the last character that was left over. I already had this character have a girlfriend. This name, you can kind of use it. It could kind of be for either or man or woman. It sounds better as a woman. If it's for a man, it sounds better as a middle name. So I'm like, okay, let me make this character a woman. They already had the girlfriend there, so that's the only reason why that character ended up being gay. Instead of, well, I got a checklist and then I got to spam the character in there. No, bro.
Push back on that just a little bit. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but when it comes to right-wing media, maybe platforms like the Daily Wire or PragerU, they're very open about the fact that they're conservative. A lot of the mainstream left news, they'll present their opinion as fact. But
exactly,
like someone like Ben Shapiro, he'll tell everyone, listen to my show, listen to Pod Save America, figure out what you think is right, listen to and you could figure out the facts based on what we're both saying.
Not everyone says that, but
you don't see that as much from the left.
I want to push back on that because Ben Shapiro has stated a lot of opinions as facts.
Yeah.
I don't think I think that there are better examples to use within the Conservative Party that are more open about being opinionated, but Ben Shapiro is
not. Michael Knowles saying transgenderism should just be eradicated from society. It's like, so now y'all are really giving them a bullet to use against us.
It's the culture war bullshit.
Yeah,
It's just like, that's what I'm so sick of between both sides, because I do think that both sides are misrepresented within media.
They went way too hard with the Bud Light thing. I'm like, let's let it go.
Especially on this topic now, I think in 2020 we all can agree every news station, besides most conservative news stations and podcasts, were posting black squares and saying that they were black people. But now, what's going on with Israel and Hamas, you see some media companies taking the silent side or firing correspondents on CNN, like Mark Lamont Hill, or firing other people on MSNBC if they have a neutral stance. So I agree with you. I think it's a cultural war on both ends, right? You have some
I agree, but
who don't agree with some things that some liberals say.
Same with the right and how they did Tucker Carlson.
Both liberal and conservative media, even if they say they're blatantly stating facts, they're failing to contextualize those facts, because a story presented with blank facts looks very different when you actually hear like the build up and like really see what's going on underneath.
Mainstream media tends to misrepresent conservatives. We all can agree on that. But what they do very well is they misrepresent liberals in a positive light. We can all remember the news.
I don't know about all that.
It's a mostly peaceful rally and there's a building burning behind him. They've misrepresented the other side, saying, look, this side is all sunshine and rainbows, everything's fine, pay no attention to those people.
Sometimes they do, but that's cap.
Actually elevating people who were advocating for peace and saying, please don't destroy these buildings, they focused on the destruction and everything else, but not the actual destruction. So I see both sides being completely misrepresentative, but misrepresented in different ways. The right being ignored and cast out as crazy, and the left going, we're the shining example of tolerance. Look at it.
Ooh, that gave me that kind of like, all right, what you're saying right there, there's some truth to it, but it's kind of cap. It's when he said they're shunned out and they're crazy. But with the left, it's kind of like, okay, we see these other things that we see, like he was talking about, they ignore the building, burn them down, blah blah blah. So they don't try to show it, even though it's seen. We see that, we see all sides of it, and then we see the peaceful ones, and then we see the ones who they're not burning shit down, but they're on some crazy shit and like, but you yell in my face. You yell in my face, you get in a 360 no scope. Like, that's a joke. It's a joke. But with the right, it's kind of like, if you say anything that's against it, yeah, it's like I said, it's one of those, you're this, you're that, racist, blah blah blah.
When underneath the surface, we see the truth.
The American dream is still alive. 3, 2, 1.
For now, yeah.
I feel like when upward class mobility is so hard as it is right now, the American dream is it's either dead or it's on life support, because it's just damn near impossible for people to climb out of poverty. Everyone thinks that they're going to be the next.
It's really not. It's really not. It is really not, bro. Ironic. Patreon description down below. Tonight, the video that's releasing is called Living Paycheck to Paycheck. Now, granted, when I put this video on YouTube, the video's been up on Patreon. But I kind of just left it as like a blank title, instead of living paycheck to paycheck is BS, blah blah blah, because I want, some people to go in there and be like, see, this guy knows that it's hard to blah blah blah, just for them to watch the video and me calling them an idiot. Why? Listen, you see, hold on, you see my shit, it's not nothing too crazy, bitch. It's not nothing too crazy. But I've been okay. Let me just put it like this. If I wasn't doing any of this right here, I would be fucking balling right now. But even as a kid, I'm like, I'm gonna do something that I love, and for me to do it and not have as much fun and make good money later on, then make a lot of money and blah blah blah. But I can still do that, make a lot of money, blah blah blah. Like, okay, let's just see what you gotta say, bro, because I'm sick of hearing people say it's blah blah blah. Like, dude, if someone had a gun to my head and say, listen, you have 5 years to get $100,000, not make it, keep it in your bank, I'ma live. I know I'ma live. I'm like, hey, do I get some money at the end too? Well, it doesn't matter. I still got the $100,000, man. I know I could.
Jeff Bezos, you're closer to being on Skid Row than you're ever going to be to Jeff Bezos.
I think the American dream has become the American memory. Like, I was thinking about this just outside of politics. Like, you know how a lot of people have nostalgia for, like, the past and stuff. It made me look at America, and it's like, we're not going to get back the America that we were post 9/11, when everybody was a little more unified outside of the Patriot Act and everything. We're not going to get the America where all races could get along without people saying, oh, you're culturally appropriating, you're
that is dumb.
Microaggressions, all that
is dumb,
all that little stuff that keeps us divided. I don't think we'll get back to the America that we grew up in. I honestly don't. Like, I want to be optimistic, but it's hard.
I guess I just don't know that that's the necessary point of the American dream. I think it shifts and it changes and it takes on the context of the time that it's in, where we had that sort of old school nuclear family, house with the white picket fence. That's changing with technology and corporations buying up properties and things like that. But I don't think the American dream is dead. I think it's taking on a new form. I think
Maybe
still
evolving.
there is no better place to be, no better place for progress. And as you watch people in other countries, what are they influenced by? They're influenced by America. Where do they want to be? They want to be in America. So it speaks to me that the dream is very much still alive. Opportunity is very much still alive. It just looks different.
Hold on, because I
The dream.
The dream.
The dream.
that was kind of valid, because I was literally about to say that I said in the video before, I said I love America but hate Americans. And it's kind of ironic that you just take that sentence and you just take what she said about where does everyone want to be, blah blah blah. If someone says I disagree, just look at why they say that. The only times where I say I disagree is because, like I said, I like the country. I don't like Americans. Most Americans. Because they take it for granted, like that video I said. That video is mostly about, hey, this is why this country is great, and this is how y'all take it for granted. If y'all went somewhere else and you live there, and you tried to go against whatever, you're out of there. Like, you want to come back. So when you look back at like movies and stuff like that, the one I think of specifically is Homecoming Spider-Man, when I was like, European girls love Americans, and that was the joke, because like it's always everyone hates America, but it's really everyone hates Americans. It's like that, you know what I'm saying? Hey, Twitch, hey, if I have to hold this L on Twitch, it is what it is. Granted, this, by the time anyone really see this on Twitch, it's off. But hey, YouTube, chill. I know I'm good on Rumble, but YouTube, chill. Osama, in a letter that was released recently, was, I don't remember the exact words, but it was basically like he wanted peace, and he didn't want, I wouldn't necessarily say peace, but he wanted to work something out. And didn't really feel bad for 9/11, because America picked those people to allow those things to happen, and American people were letting those things happen.
And I agree strongly with what you're saying here. You know, that dream of being able to buy a house, having the nuclear family, being happy, that's still my view of the American dream. It is harder to attain.
Yeah, that is,
sure.
yeah.
It might be dead here in California.
Yeah, California, that is dead for, boy.
I can assure you.
You better be a millionaire.
That the American dream can be like real.
Multi-millionaire.
The more I've experienced life, the more I feel it is a little more on the dead side. Like, it's like this idea that we're taught when we're growing up is that you work the hardest, you're gonna get the most, right?
You are.
But that's just not true.
That is.
And that's not the world we live in. And I know it's a little pessimistic. As I said, like, I want to be like the poverty cycle breaker in my family, but it's like, it feels next to impossible sometimes.
It may feel out of reach, but I started my adult life with $35 in my pocket, and I was a runaway.
Exactly.
My parents locked me up. I saw them achieve the American dream of having a home and having beautiful children. I wanted that, and I worked hard. And now in my work in real estate, I see people achieving the American dream all day long. Sometimes California is a little outside of our price range. We got to go to another state.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was one of the things I talked about in Living Paycheck to Paycheck.
Choose to get a home, choose to get land, choose to start a business. That is still here, and I wholeheartedly believe that the American dream still rests in our hands. We just have to be strong enough to take it.
Exactly.
I think for individuals,
and you also got to look at like, if you're just like working hard, like it's also, you got to work hard. You gotta know what you're doing. You gotta learn more. Like it's like if you knew, it's like building a house and you know how to do it, but you don't have the tools and you don't have the equipment that you need. So it doesn't matter how hard you work or how much, well, in that case, how much you know, because you still need to apply these other things. Now, if you know who to hire, how to build it, how to get the supplies, and you do this, then next thing you know, building yourself up and up.
Who immigrate to America, the American dream may still be alive and embedded within their spirit. But I think for BIPOC folk that are within America, the American dream is sort of a memory, and it's becoming less vibrant due to the housing crisis, due to, like you said earlier, gentrification, due to the lack of education. When the American dream was first, promoted within the 1960s, Reagan, Nixon, they funneled so much money within the American economy for people to go to college and not worry about it, for people to afford a home and not worry about it, for people to get a car and not worry about it.
Be able to work a minimum wage job and support a family.
Thank you, but now, since there's so many instances of people on the top, making sure they hold that wealth, we see so many BIPOC folk in America suffering and not being able to get to that middle class.
I know you want to cook them right now.
Is no longer here.
So you're speaking just from the BIPOC perspective, not American.
I'm speaking just from the BIPOC perspective.
Isn't like the American dream supposed to apply to everyone?
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue. It's like, when I heard you, I'm like, I think that's amazing that like some people do have the access to move and stuff like that. But like, what do you say for those people at the bottom who are working so hard and they can't? Like, they just
you can. I don't know if you're talking about physically.
A lot of the views you have of the American dream get so politically tainted that one of the things that sucks is for the cool things that are happening in America, you can't even take credit for it anymore. I hate that I chose like the most politically divisive topics, but like, for instance, like I personally think the COVID vaccine, that was a huge success of United States innovation and capitalism. I think our guns are really cool. I think that's like super awesome. You can shoot lots of firearms in the United States. I'm a proud gun owner from Nebraska. It seems like for all the things that exist,
okay, you got some W's.
We can't take credit for them anymore because all of them become so heavily politically divided that we start to have
not in that sentence, one W.
Everything.
I think it's really hard for some people to have that optimistic outlook when there is so much in the way. Like I, as a disabled person, we're still forgotten about with marriage equality. We're still forgotten about when it comes to health mandates. For a lot of people who live this every day, for us, the American dream is dead, and it's been dead for a while.
I just think like the fact that we're all here and like clothed and fed and
exactly,
have water, and we're here discussing ideas and like how to make this country a better place. To me, that completely signifies the American dream we are currently living it.
That's like, as you said, like.
And I'm sorry, I know I mispronounced it. I know it's Amala, but I know like 3 people with that name, but it's always been said differently.
Really optimistic view, like, oh, look how far we've come, but what if that's not enough for those people right now? Like, that sucks for the people living right now who don't have what they need.
That's the beauty of America. We are free to succeed or we are free to fail. It's free to do whatever you want.
I'd rather be here. I'll just say that. I'd rather be in America.
Facts. But yeah, it's like, what was I gonna say? Oh, well, it's so hard. And then you try to dispel my man's Mario, like, oh, I had $35 to my name. Or you look at a lot of these, like, actors who were like, yeah, I had $12 and then I went to this audition and, or I just saw Cat Williams on, what is it, Shannon Sharp's interview, like I got like 6 videos on my watch later playlist, and that was like the last video that I just finished on there. And talking about doing this movie and sleeping in the trailer because he was homeless or whatever. There's all these different stories. Just because you haven't got somewhere, I guarantee, like I said in that living a paycheck to paycheck video, if once again, gun to my head. Now granted, I can't reset the stupidity that you do, but gun to my head, take this person, take them from 15 years old, and take any hindsight. You don't know anything about them. You spend that first year, so in 15 to 16, you spend that first year trying to know everything about their life. Get them from 16 to whatever, and get them to a certain level. I know I could do that every single time. It doesn't matter. At least 95% of the time. Maybe you're in that 5%. Maybe there's some scenarios. But let's say there's times when I'm just like, I'll go somewhere and I'm like, there's a pizza place next to me. Besides, food safety and shit like that, you get pizza $6, the whole 8 slices. I'm gonna get that every time before I even go to Domino's, blah blah blah. You can make a couple of those pizzas last for the week if you have to like live in your car and blah blah blah. Sooner or later, you're gonna have a place to stay. And from that moment, then you can actually literally just go up there. Let me get 3 pizzas. That's your one trip. You could do that. Now, if you want to, eat a little better, then you're going to have to fix that in the future. But I'm saying that for the, like, lowest of lows. Like, okay, let's say you're either homeless or living in a car. You can be able to get $6 eventually. But yeah, started with $35 in his wallet. And then you tried to say, well, that's good for your every time he tried to say, hey, this happened. Oh, that's good for your situation. But blah, blah, blah. If I looked at your life, I could be like, you're doing this wrong. I don't know why you're doing this. Look, your outfit look expensive as shit. Why are you in that? If you're in poverty, if you're trying to, break poverty, you're on this Jubilee set. You be working right now. What are you talking about? Stop it. That was another reason why I said, when they said, do you want to be in a Jubilee video? Why I said no. Now, granted, in the future, I'll pull up. But right now, even if they said, hey, we're in your state, we're an hour from you or less, I could be making money right then, so I'm good. Or I could be doing something in the hopes of making money later on.